To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not just their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art. Welcome to the Chase Ascendancy podcast.
Well. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to...
Chase Ascendancy.
I am feeling freaking excited.
You know, this is episode 41. Josiah, what's so exciting and special about episode 41?
Well, it's pretty different. Why would you think it's different? It's coming out on a Friday.
It's coming out on a Friday. Why might it be coming out on a Friday, you ask?
You tell me.
Let's have a look-see. Maybe
Maybe-
this will put you...
Maybe a little bit of this
Maybe a
reminds
little
you,
bit of that?
huh? Maybe a little bit of this does it for you, huh? Maybe a little bit of this little guy does
Maybe
it
a
for
little
you.
bit of this.
Maybe a little bit of this. If you can see what that is.
It's a Mandalorian. It's a
Maybe
Mandalorian.
a little bit of... I'm not even going to show you that. That's a surprise. Maybe a little bit of The Mandalorian came out last night.
A little bit of the Mandalorian.
We're in Houston, Texas,
Whoa.
and it aired at 2 a.m. here.
It aired
but
at 2 a.m. and I'll
made
be
it
honest
happen.
with you, man. My mind, when we were watching this episode, I'll tell you what it was like. It was like this. My mind was blown.
Bang! The greatest sound in Star Wars
The
history.
greatest sound in Star Wars history, and that's what my mind was like, just going off all night.
So, here's the thing. First of all, shout out to Jared getting us this pop for the
very
desk.
cool.
All right, so first of all, a couple of things. Let's cover a little bit of news, and then we're going to give you our spoiler-free
Spoiler-free review, and then we're just going to draw a hard line.
And then once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, you're in.
So, first of all, if you realize that the intro song and sequence was at the beginning of the episode and it felt a little bit different, it's because obviously it was
It was a little bit different.
a little bit different. An amazing quote by our favorite Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
And then from Thrawn's lips himself, welcome
From
to you.
Thrawn's lips himself. That was featuring our good friend
Mark Thompson.
We don't really know each other very well. I just like to say.
I feel
our
like
good
I know
friend,
him.
Mark Thompson was kind enough to do a little voiceover for us.
Let me tell you the story, guys, about this, okay? I've been listening to Star Wars audiobooks for probably about a decade now. And my first audiobook that I ever bought, obviously I've read Star Wars books for a long time. The first audiobook that I ever bought, I listened to the first 5 minutes 15 times on Amazon before I was like, I'm doing it, I'm buying it. And it was Bloodlines by Karen Travis, read for you by the one and only Mark Thompson. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who Mark was.
If you have ever listened to a Star Wars audiobook, the chances are high, very high, that
you've
you've
listened
heard
to Mark
Mark
Thompson.
Thompson's voice.
Yeah. So, pretty full circle moment. So I basically found his contact, email and whatnot, and I just told him about the podcast, and I asked him, hey, we're the Chiss Ascendancy. Basically, Thrawn is kind of our base of, not just that he's the main character that we talk about, but that, the slogan for the podcast is Thoughts from Wild Space. So anything and everything is on the board. Would you want to do a voiceover for us? And he writes me back pretty quickly and says, I'd love to, but Lucasfilm and Disney are a little bit tricky to let me do Star Wars stuff. You need to reach out to Penguin Random House Audio. So if you don't know who that is, that's the person who's responsible for all the Star Wars, Harry Potter, a ton of...
I think it's the entire branch of fiction.
Frickin' science fiction, fantasy, all that kind of stuff, audiobooks. So I was a little intimidated.
I don't think I've ever listened to an audiobook that wasn't produced by Penguin Random House.
Yeah, I don't know.
I own 60-something.
So I reached out to them, and they said okay, and they said kind of the same thing Mr. Thompson said, that it's a little bit tricky, so I have to run it through Lucasfilm. And I was like, what? So someone at Lucasfilm knows about our podcast. So there you go.
They probably
But
already
gave us-
forgot, but they heard it.
They gave us the green light, and Mr. Thompson sent us a myriad of options.
Oh yeah, I was freaking out the whole time I was listening. I had to go back multiple times because I would just hear him start saying something. I'd be like, "Oh my god!"
I know. He would be like, to defeat an enemy. And I'd be like, ah, and I couldn't hear over my own excitement. I could hear myself smiling. You ever smiled that hard before that you're like, you just hear yourself going,
You can feel your heartbeat in like your upper cheek.
yeah. You know when the Grinch gets a wonderful, awful idea and he's like,
That was us. That was us for
I felt like my cheeks were tearing.
a whole while, and then I went back in, and y'all have heard, if you've been on the show before, you've heard the
Yeah.
theme song that I made.
Samuel worked
back in
his
January.
his rear end off,
EQing and splicing the channels
syncing
back
different,
together.
yeah, making sure the timing's lined up. So huge thank you, shout out to Mark Thompson for.
Yeah, that was incredible.
So the Thrawn voice
Yeah.
is welcoming you to the podcast. So that's the podcast news. And then speaking of Thrawn, some other news coming out from Del Rey Star Wars. Book 2 of the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy
Yes.
lands in May of 2021. And I want to say May 21st, but I could be wrong. It's called Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good. And the cover is kind of the very heart of the Chimera.
We'll put a picture of it if you're
and,
listening. Sorry. If you're watching, here comes a picture.
Yeah, we'll put a picture up there for you. He's standing in the heart of the Chimera. Sadly, the Chimera are not wearing their sombreros, but Thrawn's right there walking through the middle of it. Thrawn and Timothy Zahn both, and the artists that work with them never do anything that is just because.
Yeah.
So he's walking through the thick of it is my thought here. He's in the heart of what's going on. And then other news, some villains. Some that we had seen, some that were brand new are now listed at, I believe it's on StarWars.com to kind of celebrate Halloween coming up. And so for the High Republic, you had the Nihil, Nihil. We talked about those on our High Republic episode if you want to look for that. And we talked about what they look like. They kind of look like Mad Max meets Star Wars.
Yeah, it's very pop punk-esque.
Yeah.
Kind of, it has like if you've ever watched Treasure Planet, I watched that movie again recently. I fell in love
Yeah,
with it
very
all over
Treasure
again.
Planet look.
Very Treasure Planet-y.
But the two characters that I don't remember seeing, number one is Marchion Ro, Marchion. Marchion? I think Marchion is wrong, but that would be funny. Marchion Ro.
P-32 explosive space modulator.
And it's pretty cool. So this guy...
Marvin Martian.
he kind of... Oh my god, what if it's Marchion? That's so funny. He actually kind of has a Sidon Ithano look. So he's the guy in The Force Awakens, has the red helmet with the fins that do like this. That Finn is trying to get off of Maz Kanata's castle with.
Right.
And then when Hosnian Prime is destroyed, he realizes for the greater good, he's got to follow Rey and Han wherever they're going. So he has kind of that look, and he's known as the Eye. And it's like an inherited thing. It's cool because he has it looks like almost like a shotgun, but the top of it looks like it could be like some kind of a plasma thing. So I wonder if he can cut you with that part. And then the most interesting and also kind of, it's like a hit or miss kind of concept, is a character called the Drengir, Drengir. And it basically looks like a bird if a bird was that meat mountain from Stranger Things.
It
The
has
meat, the meat teeth guy.
It has an air of hash slinging slasher meets the vine bender from Avatar.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And so I think it's sentient, but it kind of reminds me of, remember the Yuuzhan Vong, where they thought that any kind of technology was an abomination, and so any of their weapons or how they fought or even their ships were organic things. And so this guy kind of seems like that sort of thing where he himself is kind of like a weapon.
Yeah,
He's like a giant beast.
Maybe like a dark Groot.
Yeah, exactly. Groot meets Stranger Things meets Star Wars, the Drengir. So that's pretty exciting. But that's enough of that. Get that crap out of the way. We're going to talk about some Mandalorian. So what we're going to do is let's set a timer. How long do you want to go spoiler free before we jump into the schmoosh? You want to do 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay, here we go. Set a timer. Episode 9, Chapter 9, The Marshal. Let's just do some ratings and some how it made us feel, and then we'll put on the Rogue One alarms and do full spoilers, okay? You go first, scale of 1 to 10.
All right, I'm trying to be rational because I remember last
Don't
time
be rational. It's Friday. Go for it.
I watched a Star Wars thing that I fell in love with was
Rise of
Rise
Skywalker.
of Skywalker. Oh my god, wow. And I was like, best Star Wars ever, because I was just so primed for it. So I've been really looking forward to this, and I will just say this. And most people don't know me since I was a child, so I can say this with pretty much security without spoiling for anybody. Things I have waited for since I was a child, those came to pass for me. So on a scale of 1 to childhood fulfillment, I'm gonna give it like an 8.5.
Ooh. It's Friday. I'm giving it a 10. I'm so stoked. From start to finish, just a lot of really cool stuff.
It was.
There
There were some things that I was like,
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. Just some. It's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and that crew that they've created over there with The Mandalorian have just done some amazing things.
You can tell. If you're a Star Wars fan, you can tell that the people making Mandalorian are huge Star Wars fans.
Right. And what's interesting is that, part of the reason that I'm mad at Rian Johnson not that I'm mad at him, but part of the reason that I'm envious of The Last Jedi is because he got to make his own Star Wars movie. And he is a super fan. Rian Johnson is a super Star Wars fan. But I don't think that he had the relationship with George to know how to carry on the story. But Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are like flying in thrust. And so they're like best buds right now. But Dave Filoni is kind of like the Joshua to Lucas's Moses. And so he's like carrying on, when you watch the gallery episodes on Disney Plus of The Mandalorian and you hear him talk, I don't care if it's for 5 minutes straight. I'm like, everybody shut up. Nobody look at him. Nobody say anything. Nobody get a drink of water. Dave Filoni's talking. And so you can tell that it's just with great care. It's just been done amazingly. Even when the episode would slow down for a little bit, I was not ever bored. I was not ever waiting for anything. It was 52 minutes long, so pretty much an hour.
Honestly, the time disappeared on me.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
And some things are so...
When it was ending, I was like, we're only 25 minutes in. What's going to happen next?
Right,
and then I looked down. It's been like 45 minutes.
It was a beautiful balance because some things are so slow that you are checking your phone for like, is it almost over? It feels like it's slowing down to a halt, and then it just keeps going and keeps going. That's what Canto Bight felt like for a lot of people. The Last Jedi, we're like, what the freak are we doing on Canto Bight? It was a really cool concept, really cool town. Maybe it's just the storyline. Some people feel like it doesn't add anything to the storyline, so that's hard. I do get the trying to create another Mos Eisley type area. And then with The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of people's complaints were it was so fast and so much was happening that what are we doing? There's no... Why are there Snokes in a bathtub hanging upside down? If he's not necessary anymore, why are they still there? Yeah. Is the Emperor alive? Is he dead? Did he live forever? Is this a clone? Why is his hands like that? Things like that. And nothing was explained. There was no dialogue from the Knights of Ren. None of that kind of thing.
Don't do that again.
Into the episode. But this episode of The Mandalorian was just a beautiful balance of... timing and execution, and just like you said, childhood things that we wanted to happen have happened. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you watch it. And we stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch it.
We did,
and we made
against
it work.
my initial better judgment, and then I was up till Kingdom Come because I just couldn't sleep. I was wired.
Yeah,
but it was definitely worth it
for sure.
I fall in love with Star Wars again every single time I watch an episode of Mandalorian.
You know what? And I said this as well. We're getting a little close on our time here, but the merchandising for Star Wars sometimes can be a little exhausting with like the childlike everything. But as soon as I see him on screen, I'm like, there he Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm back in love
He
with him
wins my
again.
heart every time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm mad at people for exploiting him, and then I see him, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. You did
know,
nothing wrong. You did nothing
You
wrong.
can never do anything wrong, Baby Yoda.
Mandalorian did an amazing job,
Hmm.
and just some very, very cool stuff. High praise. Where would you rank it in your top? There's 9 episodes so far.
I think maybe top 3.
Okay.
Maybe I think third
So-
favorite.
Episode 3, The Sin, that's your favorite, I believe. With all the Mandos coming to save Mando at the end. This is the way.
Yes.
And then, what's your second favorite?
I think episode 8.
That was a really good one.
That was a really good one. You get to see some cool stuff.
And that's with Moff Gideon and the Darksaber and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's with Moff Gideon, the Darksaber. You get the Conor McGregor Flame Trooper. You get to see the Signet. You see Armor go ham on some troopers. You see the Rising Phoenix. There's so much there.
And then episode 1 of season 2 is third.
I think so.
Very cool.
There were things that just really came true. Like, story-wise, I think I enjoyed the story for 3 and 8 better.
Sure.
But there were just so many things that
Yeah.
it was Star Wars, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
All right, so there you go. We loved it. I would rank it in my... Okay, as far as just how I felt leaving the episode, it might be my favorite right now. Seeing all
we'll talk about it again next
Seeing
week.
all the Mandalorians on screen in episode 3 was hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be my favorite still. Man, episode 8 was really dope, though. Giancarlo Esposito is just a bad mama jamma. Moff Pollos. You have something I want. He's just such a boss.
Yeah, he's
But-
got a very commanding presence.
Yeah, he really
He's been
does.
very successful for literally playing the same role in everything he's ever done. Same character, same
Yep.
guy, same voice, same demeanor, same vocabulary.
Yep.
He's
Very
just
cool.
there. All
Very
right,
dope.
all right, all right, all right.
You've been warned.
Intruders in the base. Intruders in the base. All right, so it's spoiler time.
All right, so
Spoiler
you've got
City.
5 seconds.
If you've gotten this far and you haven't watched the episode, kindly put us on pause.
Yep. Go
Open
watch
up a new
it.
tab. Control T.
What's our time at right now?
16:30.
All right, so go to 17 minutes. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch your video and then come back, fast forward to 17 minutes, and we'll jump into it. I'm literally just saying these things so there's a good gap there where you're not being spoiled because I'm about to go ham. I'm about to go in. All right? And
All right, you've been warned.
here we go.
It's your fault now.
Oh.
So, we meant to do an Instagram live, but it was after 2 in the morning, and we'd all been up all day except for Josiah, who went to sleep. And Josiah said, "Hey, last thoughts," and I thought that this was going to be broadcast, but it was not. And I said, "What do you think is the over/under that Boba Fett shows up in episode 1 of season 2 of The Mandalorian?" Mm-hmm. What was your answer?
Can you hear me with this thing on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My thought was, freak yeah, it's going to happen. Over, under, I'm not a betting man, so I don't know how that works, but I'm betting it happens. Over 100%. Very nice.
So I
was
had a
super stoked.
feeling
Yeah.
that he would come in exactly where he came in.
Yep.
Which was the very end of the episode, just like last time when they teased Boba Fett, and I was like, this is the way.
Yeah.
Right? We're just going to tease Boba Fett gradually for 5 seconds at the end of every episode.
Yeah. My thought was, okay, first episode, we've got to reestablish ourselves a little bit.
Right.
We've got to get back on track. And the show, I realized this, okay? I'm a super Boba Fett fan. My favorite character. It's never going to be undone. But I know that this is not about him. I know this show is
Right.
not about Boba Fett. And so if you ever hear J.J. Abrams talk about The Force Awakens, he says, I wish I could have used Luke more, but anytime Mark was even on the set, I could not focus because Luke Skywalker was on the set. And the story needed to develop the Kylo Rens and the Reys and the Finns and the Poes and, all those main characters to survive Luke's presence. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because you have Ben in most of A New Hope, but you've never seen Ben before.
Right.
If
All
we
right,
had
so,
seen the
yeah.
prequels and the Clone Wars and the Kenobi series, and then Ben was in Episode 4, we wouldn't give two freaks about Luke Skywalker.
Right. So if we were at a nomination ceremony for like Nobel Prizes in physics and mathematics, and by some miracle a Nikolai Tesla or an Albert Einstein were to walk into that room, even though we have the most intelligent minds in the world in that room,
You don't give a two freaks.
every,
Einstein's in the
every
room.
single one of those people is forgotten.
Yeah.
Because Nikolai Tesla's just walked in the room. Albert Einstein's just walked in the room.
Right. Well, you think about even in today's world, people who are even still alive, like, if you are in the room and someone that has been a past president walks in, whether you even like that person or not,
Right.
that person's presence takes over the room. Right? So I know that The Mandalorian is not about Boba Fett, but I just had a strong feeling that he would have that Luke Skywalker appearance where he's just at the very, very end, whether he even says anything or does anything, I feel like he's going to be in the episode.
Right.
And we were absolutely 100%, 1,000% correct.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get into that at the very, very end of how that felt, because we can walk through
Here's
it
the cool
linearly.
thing, though. So a while ago, Jon Favreau on his Instagram
How does that do for the frame?
teased the
Gamorrean?
the yoked Gamorrean
Yeah.
in his gladiator garb.
Pretty cool, because
And he
I
made
thought,
good on that in like the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, I thought that the Gamorrean was a one of one. I thought that was something that was made for him from the set. Like, you know what I'm talking about, where like George Lucas, you'd walk into Skywalker Ranch and he's got like a one of one of like a frickin', a Jar Jar bust from the concept art table or whatever. I thought that was that, but it turns out that Sideshow Collectibles or something, I can't remember what company, but they're making that statue.
Yeah.
I want to know how much it is, and they were like, pre-orders are open up today. This was like a week ago, and I was like, how much? Because I'm very interested, but they didn't put the price. To me, that sounds like it's a lot. So I haven't looked yet, but
That's Mondo dollars.
Yeah.
Right there. Is that what
Mando
that's what that
dollars,
means?
I think is what you meant to say. Yeah. So scene opens up, okay, and we're walking into some planet. We don't know which one. And first of all, can we talk about the dope
graffiti?
Star Wars graffiti? Yes. What did you think about that? Did you see anything interesting?
I saw one that looked kind of like 3PO, and because it's bright and golden, that kind of attracted my attention the most. I think there looked like some stormtrooper kind of scribbles, which made sense.
Yeah, I saw quite a few. Look kind of like snowtroopers, maybe.
Yeah, I thought it would be because I was thinking, and this is maybe just in my mind, he's kind of overblown, but you would think at this point C-3PO would have some sort of reputation in the galaxy.
You think so? People would know who he is?
Well, it's like even if it was just like a thing of legend, you know what I mean? He's at all these important places. But anyway, so there was that C-3PO that kind of got me thinking about that. But it was just like a cool, I don't know, touch of real life in Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that kind of brings it home for you.
Yeah, I really loved the drawings, and I loved I think that I'm not for sure, but when you're about to walk into that arena, there's a little scribble up there, and it looks kind of like an Aqualish, the butt face guy from A New Hope, and so Ponda Baba. So that was cool looking. I don't know if that's him or not, but it was just cool stuff. And then there were, as he's walking down the street, there are
Space dingoes.
Yeah, space dingoes. I wish I could find what those are called.
Yeah, all you see is a pair of eyes. It was kind of reminiscent of the dog that Embo has, or on what's that episode of the Clone Wars called? The it's not the island. It's the Citadel, something like that. That Jedi prison where they're rescuing Russian Yoda.
Yeah.
And they have kind of the tracking dogs.
Yeah, maybe these were those, because it kind of looks like I was trying to find.
There's not enough really to be 100% unless somebody comes out and says what they are.
Anuba, that's the name of it, which is kind of cool. It's an Egyptian reference. It was interesting because I thought it was either an Anuba or I was trying to find this before this is what I think it is. I think you are correct. I think it's an Anuba, because if you look, it's really hard because it's so dark. But if you look, like if you really strain your eyes, there's one that kind of gets close to the light but doesn't go into the light, and it looks more like a wolf. And then in Rebels, there was this animal that they could hunt in the dark, but they couldn't get into the light. Do you remember that episode?
Not really.
And of course, Ezra has that thing with animals where he can like control them or has a force connection. So he's like trying to calm them, and then once it gets dark, they get like more agitated because they're like hunting prowess starts to warm up. I couldn't tell if they were those, but if I remember correctly, those had yellow eyes.
Perhaps.
But yeah, that was very cool. So you walk right in there, and then you have the freaking Gamorreans fight scene. What did you think about those axes?
Well, hold on. Let's talk about
The bouncer?
the ethnic diversity play of the bouncer. I had just never seen a Twi'lek that wasn't some shade between pink and lilac.
Yeah, it is very interesting that you have.
He had a cool voice.
It was. Oh yeah, enjoy the fights.
Yeah.
It was interesting because
Kinda like
it
that
was
guy
a.
from the Green Mile.
It was a very. Oh, what's that guy's name?
I expect him to like vomit butterflies or moths or whatever the frick. What is it like?
Remember when
locusts?
he's like.
I don't know.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan always happy cries. I thought he was going to do that. It was very interesting to see a Twi'lek with like a human skin color, because even white Twi'leks,
Yeah, they're
like
pink.
Cham
Yeah.
Syndulla, are pink, and then you have Hera, who's his daughter, who's green. So what was her mom up to? But
You know what? Frick. What's the
Bib Fortuna?
No, Bib Fortuna's pink. He's a pinky boy. I guess. Well, yeah. Well, never mind.
He's kind of whitish.
He's more pink than white though.
Dude,
He's
if
got
you-
the crazy like white rabbit eyes.
Bro, if you look up bless their heart, Kenner was trying back in the day, but you find the
Bib Fortuna from like episode 2.
dude. No. I'm talking about from like episode 6 toys from like the 80s. He's like, it looks like
Freaking
he's.
Mojo got a hold of him.
What's that game where you have to do like catchphrases and stuff, but you have like the dentist thing in your mouth and you're like, let's go to Taco Bell. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, Bib Fortuna, the old, the vintage figure, his eyes are like, he looks like he's holding diarrhea, and his teeth just look like he's had his lips ripped off. You remember when there was that Russian sleep experiment video that was floating around the internet? They were like, they didn't sleep for 6 months, and for some reason the picture is like a guy without lips, and it's just like, dude, so funny.
If I didn't sleep for 6 months, my lips would definitely recede into the rest
Like
of
that
my
one
head.
guy you call Melman. Looks like that guy.
Yeah.
So Gamorrean fight scene, dude. I was very not confused, but I was kind of impressed by the axes. So I guess that
Yeah,
they have
it seemed like it was kind of like a grav hammer concept from Halo, where it was
Yeah.
like imbued with something other than just your normal metal blade.
right. Well, because when you first see Gamorreans, you're in Jabba's palace,
Right.
and Jabba's rich, but I don't think that he's necessarily a guy that pays well to like the random security folks.
Well, and why would you pay well if your turnover rate was so high?
Right. Well, that's my thing is, when you're anywhere else, like when you see the Emperor's Royal Guards and they have those staffs,
Right.
obviously you know that like when they hit you with that, it's not going to be hitting you with a cane. Like
Right.
there's going to be
Yeah,
some
like
oomph
a
behind
force
it.
pike sort of thing.
But I really feel like the axes and stuff that the Gamorreans typically had, I thought they were just old school metal.
And I
you
think
know?
that maybe those were, but these were completely different.
It was kind of like whenever you're watching like military training videos and they have like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
staff
yeah,
that have
yeah.
like pads on it. It was like American Gladiator, but for Gamorreans. You're watching Gamorrean Gladiator.
Yeah.
This
Well,
episode's
it
going to
was-
be long,
yeah.
heads up.
Yeah.
We're going for it. But that was very cool, and I feel like maybe it's like however hard you hit them, obviously the more force. But does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
no,
you could go for a killing blow.
It was a cool weapon, but it was cool to see Gamorreans that weren't
Overweight?
yeah, and completely incompetent either. You know, I mean, it seemed like they had some sort of something going on. I mean, if people came to watch, they were obviously skilled fighters.
Right, very cool. But it was also very sad because it was obviously not a very humane. It was like
Yeah, it was underground.
they were
fight night
slaves.
for
You know what I
sure,
mean? It was
yeah.
like fight to the death, Spartacus type stuff. So you go in there, and then you have I can't remember the guy's
the
name.
Cyclops. Something.
Koresh is his
Koresh,
last name,
yeah, that's-
which is funny because we were talking about David Koresh yesterday. But
like the dying.
Gore Koresh.
Gore Koresh. There you go. Thank you, Adam.
Is that John Favreau?
It's John Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo.
That's,
What?
That's the voice we could. I mean,
Yeah.
when we saw it.
We were
Hey,
trying to
so
figure
what
out who
is-
it was. So I thought it was John Favreau. I was like, but it doesn't quite sound all the way like John Favreau.
Yeah. So in the trailer, whenever it's like wherever I go, he goes, and Koresh says, So I've heard. That sounded like Jon Favreau,
Yeah.
but when you watch the actual episode, there are some things that I'm like, that's not quite John's
Right,
voice.
and when Jon Favreau does Star Wars voices, he usually puts a little more grit into his voice.
So what? John Leguizamo. What else is he in?
What is he not in?
What's like an old? What's a movie that I would know?
Tracks of My Tears, Tears of a
Wong
Clown.
Fu. I'm trying to think of anything recently.
We are hitting a miss so far.
Yeah.
Think about movies Josiah's seen.
Smokey
Look it up,
Robinson.
Jimmy.
Who the freaking? I guess I'll just look at a picture of the guy.
He's in Moulin Rouge. He's in Spawn.
Okay, Spawn I've seen,
Spawn.
Playing with Fire, the new John Cena movie.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm looking up John Leguizamo.
He's in the Waco series
Oh, he is.
Okay, what does he do there?
with Jacob Vasquez.
Jacob Vasquez.
Is he the
All right.
undercover
He's in John Wick 2.
undercover FBI guy? How do you spell Leguizamo?
Kefoli?
Leguizamo.
Got it. Oh, okay, yeah.
Hispanic fellow?
Yeah, he's the voice of Sid from Ice Age.
Okay.
That's what I
Yes,
said.
That's what we thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, you got to bring it down to my level. He's Sid from Ice Age. Okay. So this guy was...
Yeah.
That's so funny, dude. Wow. Went from delivering babies to trying to kidnap them. What a scumbag. Well, I guess he didn't really care about the child. So John Leguizamo, Sid the Sloth, is trying to get... he doesn't care about the child, which is actually a cool spin because everybody and their mother was like wanting the child last season. He wants the Beskar.
Yeah, he's Beskar boy.
And he knows where a Mandalorian is. And he wants to bet on the Gamorreans. If this guy dies in the next minute and a half, then I get your armor if he lives past a minute and a half.
Right.
Which he was going to end up, you could tell then he was going to
Shot
kill
him,
the guy.
Yeah. But
What a toot. What a fart head.
I had a thought and then it just went away like that Gamorrean's life. Just poof. Let's talk about that Zabrak that thought it would be a good idea to punch Din Djarin in the head 3 times. Like he didn't learn the lesson the first time that he's literally punching a
Dude,
metal helmet.
for real.
He's
I did
he's
enjoy-
hurting his own friends more.
I did enjoy that he, that on the third try, that Mando was like, all right, bang, and like
Yeah.
threw his head into the punch, which would have sucked more.
Yeah, and we got to see that sick gold vibroblade. That was dope. We got to
Yes, I
have
love
a-
that you could hear it.
Yeah, have that resurgence of the singing birds,
Whistling birds.
whistling birds. Yeah, we hadn't seen those since
Hey,
episode
so
3.
here's okay, a little bit of a tiny beef here. Remember when freaking the armorer was like, "Don't use these because they're super rare and expensive," and
he
he's
used
used
them in
them
that episode.
that episode, and he's used them at least twice since then.
I assume there was quite a bit of Beskar left. I assume that there were more than just like you see, because it looked like it wasn't just in there. It looked like maybe they were loading from like a chamber or something. You know what I mean? Like they weren't already in those sockets. I think maybe he had some in reserve.
It'd be funny if every time he used them, he was like,
Right.
and he's just picking them up.
Plus, you see, there's like 8 or 9 of them. It looks like, you know what I mean. And so he only
Yeah,
uses
that's true.
3 of them or 4 of them at a time.
I wonder how that works.
I don't know. He's got advanced armor. You saw freaking jumping ahead a little bit. You saw Cobb Vanth with the daggum Pila in his helmet. You know, locking on, shooting the jetpack missile. Where'd he get that second jetpack missile? Is what I would like to know.
Correct, and also it's interesting. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but if you look up what a rocket-firing Boba Fett action figure looks like from 1978, it goes super rare because they realized they didn't want a toy that actually shot rockets at kids and poked them in the eye. That is very similar to what the missile that's in his jetpack looks like, because obviously the jetpack missile that Boba has is
little
that
different.
ding ding ding
Yeah.
ding. You know, the longer one like
Yeah,
you see
more
Django
reminiscent-
has in
yeah,
Camino,
Django's
and
Rising
then
Phoenix.
and then obviously on Geonosis he has something similar to what Din Djarin wears.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very cool because when I was watching that I was like, dude, that's freaking Kenner Boba Fett. Like it's just Jon Favreau is such an old school. He was like, you know, when you watch the gallery, he's
Mm-hmm.
like, this is like getting to play with your Star Wars figures, but in real life. And I was like, yes, he gets it. So that was very cool. But he basically makes that bet. You know, you're going to tell me where the Mando other Mandos are, because he's on a quest to take Baby Yoda back to his kind, the child. I say, and so the deal is, okay, he beats everybody in the arena because he gets jumped, and it's, if you tell me I won't kill you by my hand. And so dude, can we talk about how strong he is? That guy's obviously a little portally, and he throws that cable over the light pole and then just goes, and the guy's like shwink and is lifted up. Yeah. I was impressed. I was like, oh, my back. That guy looked fat. That guy looked like he would not be light. His eye was, 5 pounds. And so he picks that guy up and he says he's on Tatooine. What were your thoughts at that point?
I was like, maybe Boba Fett? Because since episode 5, right? We've been talking about, is it Cobb Vanth, is it Boba Fett?
Right.
And that obviously opened the door back up. He's looking for a Mandalorian. Koresh only knows where one is. He says Tatooine. Mando says, I've spent a lot of time on Tatooine. I didn't see any Mandos, which is funny because that's a whole planet. But then, if you think about
growing up, I think that Mando has been on Tatooine before.
That's what I'm
we
thinking,
see him go back, because he has all that
saying,
rapport with the Tuskens.
He's learned how to communicate with the Tuskens, and he seems fluent. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that's an easy language to pick up.
Can we just pat ourselves on the back a little bit here? I'm just gonna say it. I don't
care
know
that you broke your elbow.
I don't know of very many other folks who were covering Cobb Vanth 20 weeks ago, guys. I think it was episode 18. All right? And this is episode 41. So 23 weeks ago, we said, hey, there's this guy named Cobb Vanth. And last night was so much vindication for me as a Star Wars fan, as a Boba Fett fan, as a Star Wars reader. There are a lot of Star Wars fans out there that will watch the shows and they'll watch the movies and they think it's overkill to read the books and the comics.
Well, and the thing is, like, we know some people that were allegedly unimpressed with the episode, but I think part of the problem for them is that there were so many deep cuts that I think they just they were not able to fully appreciate everything that happened.
Yeah. Well, I had a guy contact me and was like, what's all the fuss about? And I was like, what is the fuss not about, my friend? And so going there, the reason that right off the bat I thought it was Cobb Vanth is because we had covered Cobb Vanth and we were told that he was going to be on this place. And in the Cobb Vanth episode, I read that little portion of the Aftermath trilogy.
Right. Well, when they say Mos Espa specifically, you know what I mean? That's...
What do you mean Mos Lagos or whatever?
Sure.
Because Mos Espa and Mos Eisley are still established, and then this one was abandoned. Because they end up calling it, in the book, I'm sure that some of the things didn't line up specifically, but then he starts calling it Freetown in the book, because we're all slaves and now we're free, and I'm the marshal around here, and they call it Freetown.
Yeah.
And so whenever they were like, well, it's going to be Mandalorian, here's 2 reasons I didn't think that it was Boba Fett right off the bat. One, we had done the Cobb Vanth episode, and we knew that Timothy Olyphant was playing something. He's very much of a Western gunslinger. Right. He's from Justified and things like that. So I was thinking he's Cobb Vanth. I think that's who we're going to see first. And then secondly, I thought that it would be too early in the episode to really bring in Boba hard and heavy.
For sure. Well, and if we had a whole episode with Boba in it, I'm trying to figure out, like, how they would advance on that if he were just introduced, 15 minutes in? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because we don't know how they're going to work together, if they're going to work together or against each other. I think it would be too much too fast.
Yeah, so they get to reintroduce the mom or grandma, depending on your perspective, from Raising Hope. I forget her name in real life.
I don't know her character's name, but she's a very cool character. I like...
She's a fan of this little guy.
Yeah, she loves Baby Yoda. Dude, it's just, they always do such a good job with making him do things that kids do. My youngest is a year and a half, and whenever he sees someone he likes, if I'm holding him, he just kicks his legs like crazy. And he just waves his arms. He starts breathing fast. And so whenever Mando's coming down the ramp and he's walking towards this lady at the spaceport, and those 3 freaking pit droids are trying to help with the Razor Crest, they're just messing crap up.
Which that's a little bit of character development for Din Djarin.
Yeah.
That experience with IG-11.
Yep.
Warmed him up to droids a little bit.
He was like, yeah, let I give the Razor Crest the once over.
Yeah.
So whenever Baby Yoda sees this lady, he's like breathing fast. I just thought that was the freaking cutest thing. And then shout out to R5 being there in the spaceport.
Yep.
And
With
man,
his
it's
bad motivator.
the little stuff, dude.
display.
It's the little stuff that just gets me. Like when she's like, R5, get over here, and he's going slow, and she's like, God, come on. It's funny because I'm not deep enough tech guy in the Star Wars realm to know what a motivator does, but it is funny that he has a bad motivator and he moves slow. It's kind of funny that he's like, obviously, like, it's jokey. It's a joke that he's lacking motivation. So she's like, come on, hurry up. And she's like, I can't get any good help around here. And as the camera angle changes and you're looking from behind R5, you see his messed up motivator with that oil leaking or whatever from behind.
There's some carbon scoring on there from when it
Just
was
the good
blown
stuff.
out.
Just the good stuff. And then we go over to freaking, is it Mos Lagos? Is that what it is?
I don't know, you're the one that's seen the episode 4 times, man.
I know. It's all mixed up for me.
Anyway,
So,
basically Freetown.
yeah. So we're heading towards Freetown. What did you think about that? What did you think about how it looked? And did you see anything you liked?
It was very westerny. It was a barren town on purpose. So we get there, and then we have the Weequay bartender.
I love that guy's voice.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool little nod. It's cool to see one cooperating.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of just kind of being a freelancer, like being, I don't know, it's just kind of an unusual thing to include.
What do you think about the way that they're making it where any species can be good or bad? How do you feel about that?
I think it was inevitable.
Yeah, old school stuff is so like cut and dried. You know what I mean?
Well, it is, I don't know. It's
If there's a character that's a rat in like a cartoon, it's gonna be a bad character because rats are bad, but mice are good and things like that.
yeah, so we just, I don't know. It was inevitable that the goings on of Star Wars, or even you kind of see that in if you read The Cursed Child, you have some Slytherin that are fighting for the greater good. So I don't know. I think it was just inevitable that to keep up with the societal shift, of more gray areas and morality.
It was cool to see, and who knows, maybe he was a slave or whatever, and
Well, because he was there, he was the bartender during the Imperial occupation, and he wasn't necessarily a slave until the Empire was destroyed, and then the mining company moved in.
Right.
So
yeah, very interesting. Mos Pelgo.
Mos Pelgo.
But it was very cool. So you get there, and I do like something that I've always loved that I didn't realize I loved so much about Western towns or whatever.
That's how everybody's playing dumb.
No, that is funny though.
When he's like, "What's a Mandalorian?" He's like, "Looks like me."
And he's like,
He's like,
this guy? Yeah, the old Bugs Bunny. And long ears like this. Never heard of him. But I don't know why, but I love the wooden sidewalks in Western stuff.
just like the planks.
Yeah, I just love it.
There's like every building has a sidewalk.
Well, I can remember
They've all got
being
a
younger, and we used to watch this old cowboy show, and they actually had the actual location in Oklahoma, and so it was called Dry Gulch. And you could go there, and you could have summer camps there and stuff, and you could dress up like a cowboy or whatever. And I can remember going there, and of course, I had my boots with me at the time. So I was probably, 10 years old, and I was wearing my boots, and I remember walking on the sidewalks, because it's all gravel and dirt and whatnot, and then you have the raised wooden sidewalks. And I can remember walking and on purpose letting my heel hit the ground real hard, and I was going, like, I just liked the way it sounded of like, yeah, this is what it sounds like walking in the West out here on these wooden planks. So just seeing that was very cool. If you watch closely, at about 13 minutes when he's really, really slowly coming into town, there's somebody moving some equipment on the sidewalk, and it's Sam Witwer, voice of Darth Maul.
Very cool.
He's moving some stuff. Man,
little
he is
cameo,
a
huh?
skinny boy. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. He's walking in, and it's just moving something. But if you look for it, you see him. And so he walks into the bar, and I'm looking for a Mandalorian, and he's like, well, we don't have many visitors around here. And he's like, what's he look like? And it's like, okay, later in the episode, same guy goes, we've heard the stories. So I imagine he knows what a Mandalorian looks like.
Yeah.
And you know that he knows what a Mandalorian looks like because when Cobb Vanth's doing like the flashback stories, when Cobb walks in Boba's armor, he's like, easy now. Like he like backs away from the drinks as the mining people are drinking. But that was really cool. Cobb Vanth walks in and he's got that armor on.
Yeah, and kind of a little camaraderie between Din Djarin and Cobb Vanth because, you know, Din Djarin thinks he's a Mando.
Right at the beginning.
And it's funny because you see him and the armor just doesn't look right. Part of it is because the suit he's wearing under is not Boba Fett's, you know, flight suit, so that's kind of throwing you off. But he also like just fills it out differently. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
he's a little bit taller. The character is a little bit taller than Tamura Morrison, but also less broad. And but I think that's a good thing because
It almost looks like he's wearing like football pads, but he's not like wearing the uniform. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very interesting because there are times in the past, I was talking to Skeleton Astronaut about this, but he made a good point that in lesser shows or in older shows where they weren't thinking about this sort of thing, it's kind of like when you see a commercial and everyone in the commercial has brand new clothes, and you're like, this doesn't feel real. So for him to walk in and be kind of like,
Yeah. Well, and I never noticed
I like
how
that. It makes you realize, hey, what the freak is that crap? You don't. That's not yours.
I never noticed how prominent the hosing was. You know, from the
To the
chest
gauntlets.
piece to the gauntlets.
Yeah, very prominent. And also like Boba's got his the groin armor area, and he's got his little belt.
Yeah.
So there's so much more going on. You don't realize that the chest piece really kind of stops at the navel. In my mind, it just always went to the waist. But it's kind of high waisted on Cobb Vanth. So Timothy Oliphant walks in and he's like, what can I do you for? Yeah. And he's like, I've been looking for you for many parsecs. And he's like, I found you. And, you know, confession, obviously, I said this before, but I've watched it 4 times since 2 this morning. And we started recording around 1:30 in the afternoon. So I've watched it quite a few times in a short period of time. But it's very funny because when he's like, let's get a couple of drinks, the Mandalorian's like, what the freak do you want to drink for? Like, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was cool
He
to see.
didn't order any straws. What's going on here?
I thought it was cool to see Din Djarin's Mandalorian side because you see him kind of being a good guy. You know, he's kind of letting stuff skirt. But you see somebody like violate the Mandalorian creed and all bets are off. He's like, give that armor to me.
Well, it's very cool because I like how Din Djarin is proving himself to the Mandalorians in season 1 when he meets Paz Vizsla and when he meets the armorer. He, you know, think about that. Has anyone ever? He's got the armor, obviously, so he is a Mandalorian and he's followed the creed and he was raised by them. But there's a coming of age that happens throughout season 1 of like taking care of someone else and like fighting the good fight. And when she's making and casting his armor, she's like, has anyone ever, you know, have you ever removed your helmet for anyone? He says, no one. Has anyone removed it for you? No one. And it's like, okay, well then you can have this made.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very, very cool. And I think that you obviously see how much it means to him because it's like,
He goes 0 to 60 real quick. You don't see him lose his cool very much.
well, he's walking to the table and he's already kind of hesitant because he's like, why is this guy being so freaking friendly? Like he's used to like the standoffish, like prove yourself Mandalorian style. And Cobb Vanth is like, want a cigarette? And so he goes to sit down and you hear the helmet come off and he
immediately stiffens.
Yeah, I do. Props to Pedro Pascal, who has had to learn
how to communicate
without a facial expression. Yeah. You know, I always gave mad props to Tom Hardy as Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, but he has his eyebrows, which is 90% of your face. You know, like if you're angry and you do this, or if you're happy and you go, like, you know, we've all had to wear a mask for freaking forever now, and so you know what it's like to be like, you know. So you can communicate from your nose up, but to communicate with just your shoulders, basically, he's like he stops and he's not having it, and right off the bat, Cobb Vanth says, I've never seen a real Mandalorian, and he's like, you son of a gun.
Yeah, he's ready to throw down right there.
And I think Cobb Vanth knows it too because he says, when I heard you were here, I knew that you probably wouldn't be too happy with me having this armor, so I figured just one of us is going to leave this place. And he says, you can do this right here? And he goes, right here. Give me the armor. And he goes, mm-mm. And he's like, all right, I'm going to take it from you. And he says, you can do it right here? And he says, mm-hmm. And he goes in front of the kid. And one of your favorite lines.
He's seen worse.
He's seen worse. Just saw you destroy an entire arena of
Right.
people. He just saw that guy vibroblade
I was
that
about to
dude.
say he literally just saw Mando feed that Cyclops to space dingoes. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he was there for it.
Yeah. He's been filmed Nature is Metal. He's been the guy filming the attack. So they're about to throw down. Who do you think would have won that? Mando?
Jarring. First of all, Cobb Vanth wasn't even wearing his helmet.
Wasn't he wearing the helmet?
Headshot. Easy peasy.
Bing. If I was Din Djarin, dude, what if he would have just went for it then? The Tremor start, and it was kind of funny because we were watching Bout of Buster Scruggs right before the episode started, and he's like, "You need to count," and he's like, "No, sir." Bing, and he got shot. That was fresh in my brain. So when he was like, "Hang on a second," I was like, "Shoot him, Din! Shoot him now!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no honor if you have the honor to wear the armor without
Yeah.
really trying.
But then, so we see, first thing, there's like an earthquake happening,
It's about to
basically.
get heavy.
And so
It's
I
about
was
to get hot in
making
here.
making a joke about, storm's coming in, Annie, better get him quick. And how sandstorms are very, very dangerous.
Yeah, he was like, "We need someone with sand arthritis to tell us when
right?
to go
We need
inside."
some old lady to let us know when the storm's coming. And
That lady was probably 30. Been on Tatooine her whole
Tatooine
life.
30, rest of the world. Or
Yeah,
I guess rest of the
freaking
freaking galaxy,
Cobb
like
Vanth later-
120.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth was like, "I've lived on Tatooine my whole life," and I was like, "Oh my god, he's 13." Tatooine just ruins people, dude.
And
The
so,
Tuskens know what they're doing.
And so, you get the like Bugs Bunny ripples, like taking a left at Albuquerque, going straight down, First Street.
Yep.
And I was like, what the frick is going on? And then I saw a little bit of flesh underneath the ripple, and I was like, Crate Dragon, calling it.
Well, you kind of saw some, I don't know if you want to call them fins or whatever, but you saw the spikes.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy is I was going through. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about episode 1 and or prequels, and I was talking about the Darth Maul cards, and we were joking around about that. Well, I went home and I was digging through some stuff, and I found my old Star Wars cards, and I was going through them, and the cards that we knew more about, the style that kind of started with episode 2 cards. In the bottom right-hand corner, there are different symbols to show the rarity of the card. So if it's a circle, it's regular. If it's diamond, it's semi-rare. And if it's a star, it's rare. And then there's some that have a star and like a foil covering, which is really cool. But anyways, I was looking through and I had a star Boba Fett, and I was like, oh, this is sick. And then I was, it's been probably 10 years since I've really looked through those. So I was looking through them and I saw a Crate Dragon, and I was like, oh my God, this would be so sick. So I took a picture of him and posted it on Instagram at like 8 or 9 o'clock the night before, yesterday night. And I was like, anybody else got Mandalorian on the brain? And I was 2 for 2. I had multiple people messaging me like, do you know something I don't know? Like after the episode had aired, like, do you have an inside scoop? And I was like, just the Force, just my mind. But very, very cool.
Yeah, I had been wanting to see a Crate Dragon
Forever.
You see the skeleton in A New Hope, and you wonder what the real thing looks like.
Yeah, it turns out that the skeleton from A New Hope was a baby.
Yeah, it was
Crate
a
Dragon.
teensy
That was
weensy
a
Crate
Crate Dragonette.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing was massive. How did you feel about that? Do you wish that we saw more of it?
I think if we got to see the whole thing all at once, it would have been less overwhelming.
Yeah,
It's
Alfred
kinda
Hitchcock.
I was about to say the Alfred Hitchcock thing.
He talks
afraid of
about
what you don't see.
Yep. What a master. He says you're afraid of what you don't see. Because once it's any horror movie. It's freaking what was the movie we were talking about the other day? Dang it. The one where the devil's like sharpening his nails.
Oh,
Insidious. Dude, Insidious is terrifying. Yeah, and it's
his
super
fingernails
scary.
on a grindstone.
And then it's like a happy Darth Maul, and he's sharpening his fingernails on a grindstone, and that's supposed to be terrifying. And I was like, womp womp. Like I was not afraid at all anymore. And so I agree. I do want to see more of one. It definitely looked different than what we've seen of Crate Dragons in the past. and massive.
Yeah, freaking
Freaking
huge. Well,
huge.
and I think we know that this was an exceptionally large crate dragon. And it
Yeah.
had been around for a long time because you hear Din Djarin saying that the Sand People had studied its digestive cycle for generations. So this bad boy's been around for quite a while.
Quite a while, Brian.
And it ate a Sarlacc.
Yeah. So Sarlacc's,
I don't know if you know this, they're huge.
yeah, in episode 6, what you really see is like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
They have a large underground stomach system and things that they move.
Yeah, if you've played, we talked about the Force Unleashed a few weeks ago. If you've played Force Unleashed, there's a whole mission basically where you're inside a Sarlacc. There's
Yeah.
a whole like Imperial base inside the Sarlacc, which is kind of wild. But
That is crazy. I forgot about that. It's really crazy because you see this and they're like, yeah, they live in a abandoned Sarlacc pit or Sarlacc hole or whatever. And Cobb Vanth is like, I've lived on Tatooine my whole life. There's no such thing as an abandoned Sarlacc pit. And Din Djarin's like, there is if you eat the Sarlacc. And I was like, Jesus. Like, this is crazy. You remember the Aristocats where that goose is, or no?
hold on real quick. So at the point of the episode, sorry, baby. At the point of the episode that we're at, they've already kind of interacted with the Sand People.
Some Tuskies.
Let's go back a couple minutes before that.
Okay.
Let's talk about that speeder bike Cobb Vanth has.
Okay, let's talk about the freaking speeder bike Cobb Vanth has.
Don't know if you know this.
That's Anakin Skywalker's.
That's Anakin Skywalker's pod racer engine.
Yes, dude. So if you're a toy collector like myself, you better get on the eBays quick before those skyrocket in price. I got one for $20 last night.
Did you really buy one? I thought you were just making a
No,
joke.
I really did.
That's really funny.
Here's the thing. One of the parts about toy photography that's a little bit more that gets me is that I will want to recreate a shot, and so I have to buy something to do the shot. And so...
But yeah, so I was thinking, I was like, man, Cobb Vanth is quite the collector.
Yeah,
He's got
Boba Fett's
Boba Fett's
armor,
armor, he's
Darth
got-
Vader's pod racer.
Yeah.
What do you got? The Emperor's cane for a door jam? This guy's a thief. That's
like,
what he is.
This is my...
He's not a sheriff. He's a crook.
This is my collection of...
Let's
gold-
defund Cobb Vanth. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, it's over. Anyway, gosh dang it.
Sorry, I had a defund Cobb Vanth joke. I couldn't let it slide.
Yep, you could have. Anyway, yeah, but he's got all these really important artifacts.
Yeah.
And he just casually has them.
Yeah. It would be funny if he was riding that speeder, and if you watch it, he's not it's not like Rey's where she's on top of it. There's like a little car to
Yeah,
the
a
side.
little sidecar.
It'd be funny if that was Anakin's engine, and it's the Emperor's throne on the side, and he's just like, I imagine that.
Just chilling like
I
Megamind
bet
up
you.
there.
Oh yeah, I bet you that the Emperor has the armrests open up, and he's got a little remote in there that he can start doing the little vibrating chair, the happy fingers,
He's got
like.
the little air conditioning on
Oh,
there.
dude, for sure. Everyone's grandma has that chair that like they sleep in. They don't even actually sleep in their bed. That's definitely what that chair is that the Emperor has.
And so he's riding Anakin's pod racer. They're going through all these little crags and gullies.
Oh yeah.
And we hear noises. At first you think, okay, they've gotten to the Krayt Dragon's lair.
Yeah.
And then you see the little doggies come out, and I was like, whoa, we haven't seen one of these guys since episode 2.
Yep. Those are called mastiffs, like mastiff, but not.
Gravity Mastiffs.
Yeah. Nice.
Thanks. And so, one of them comes out, and then like 12 of them come out.
It was very much like the Elephant Graveyard.
Yeah,
from
it was
Lion
very
King.
Elephant Graveyard.
I was
And-
like, okay, John Favreau, you little self-promoting son of a gun.
And so you see Cobb Vanth start to pull out his blaster rifle. Things are getting hot and sweaty real quick.
Yeah.
And then you just see Din Djarin whip out another little hat trick.
He goes full Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. And he does this little call. Apparently the Mastiffs can talk, kind of.
Well, I think that they...
Because they recognize language, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he makes a sound and it gets their attention, but then he says words.
Yeah.
And that Mastiff goes 10 to 0 real quick, and he's just a happy puppy dog.
Yeah, I like how he's wagging his tail.
Yeah, he's got his little crocodile neck.
Uh-huh.
That was cool.
Dude, it's crazy because we've never really seen
a massive like in the light. Because even when they're on Coruscant, when they're hunting Ahsoka,
Well, you see them in episode 2.
right? But it's
fighting over those bones. They're kind of in the firelight.
But I'm talking about like full daylight. So I'd never seen one growl and open up its dadgum alligator mouth. It was like, "Arr," and I was like, oh man, that's scary. And it goes, rah! And I was like, oh god. You know how snakes like undo their jaw?
Yeah, unhinge their
He was
jaw.
like, eek. It was just crazy. He was like, freaking, what angle was that degree?
I don't know. Well, if you think about
70
it,
degrees?
crocodiles don't
God
have
dang.
cheeks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, just wide open. So that was really cool. And he does like a little yo, calms him down. And dude, again, we were right on time with the Tusken episode.
And you know what I thought was kind of funny is that
The Tuskens. Ruh, 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 ruh.
the
When someone
Tuskens,
burns somebody.
the Tuskens were perfectly willing to just let those dogs handle it. And,
Yeah.
And then they're like, who the frick is talking to Fido?
Roar. Dude.
And then they kind of walk around the corner.
I like how, you know how Darth Vader always has his thumbs tucked into his belt? Did you notice that the Tusken walks around the corner and he's got his thumbs stuck to his belt and he's like, oh, what the frick is this? So that's really cool. I love my mother-in-law. You've never read or listened to Kenobi, huh?
No.
Okay. Well, that was one of the first times that I read a book or whatever, listened to a book that my eyes were open to the, I guess, what do you want to say this? The, what do you call it when, the humanity. Sorry, God, I died.
The humanity.
Rosie!
Mrs. Mount.
Mrs. Mouth? Dude, that guy's overbite is ridiculous.
He makes the movie for me.
If you guys want to know what my favorite Halloween movie is, it's Wallace and Gromit's Curse of the Were-Rabbit. You will not regret watching it. But whenever, what the freak was I saying? Oh, that's when you first really you see the humanity.
Defund the humanity. Let's keep talking.
That's when you first see the humanity of Tuskens, because here's the thing. They are savages and they are raiders, but just like Din Djarin says, like they keep their word and they have a society. And you know what? It really did remind me. We talked about this a little bit with the Tusken Raider episode. But if you are an American, and even if you have Native American or American Indian in your blood, but that's not like really the heritage that you are growing up around, you only hear the quote-unquote victorious side of history, right? Like they say the winners write the history books. So, you know, I'm sure that there are stories that the Japanese or that the Germans told their kids about British soldiers or American soldiers, you know, during World War II, and we were the boogeyman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that any side was perfect or whatever.
The boogeyman for the German soldiers was not the Americans.
It was definitely the Russians. Well, from the East.
It's the Jews.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Jesus.
History. It's in the books, man.
I know.
Have you ever seen the propaganda for the Germans?
Well, yeah. I was talking about like actual fighting.
Those are some very racist drawings.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just gonna say it.
Very, very. But it's interesting because, you know, it's when the Indians and the Americans were fighting, it's like they were portrayed as just straight savages, like not like mindless.
Like
Like,
if you think about Braveheart,
yeah.
where the counselor for the princess talks about William Wallace in front of him, and I think it was Latin.
Yeah, it was. Or French.
And he's like, I am a savage.
Yeah. It's interesting because he says they're animals and savages or something like that. And he says, I'm not an animal, but I am a savage.
Pretty ballin'.
But yeah, so it's interesting because when let's say you're on the colonial side of things and you're fighting the American Indians and, all you know is the war side of them for the most part. You know, it's very much like if you've seen the movie Hostiles.
Right.
With Christian Bale, which is freaking fantastic.
You know about them, what you've interacted with them.
Exactly.
And all of that has been fighting.
Exactly. So, I loved in the book Kenobi, there's a middle ground that he finds where it's like he's protecting the townspeople.
The negotiator.
But he's not going to treat the Tuskens like they're not, people. And that's kind of what we see happening with,
with Din Djarin is he's been with these people and they're people.
Yeah.
And they have a society and they have honor and they
have a culture, they have, a history, they have relationships.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this episode is that you see the savagery of Din Djarin and that he's willing to kill somebody for breaking the creed right in front of him, but at the same time, he's the peace bringer between these two, diametrically opposed societies.
Yeah. And it's very cool because right after he talks with the Tuskens and they say, yeah, bro, we want to kill this freaking Krayt Dragon. And he says, okay, they say they'll help us. So Cobb Vanth's like, well, we need to get rid of this Krayt Dragon for the town, so I'm going to work with these Tuskens even though I don't really like them. But throughout the episode, you really see, obviously, the relationship between Cobb and Din grows, but he definitely from the start is more loyal to the Sand People. He has more respect for the Sand People.
Yeah.
And so when they're around the fire and they open up that disgusting pumpkin or whatever the freak that thing is.
I don't know what that was.
Dude, that thing looked like it had spores, bro. He clicked that thing and dust rose off of it and I was like, oh. And he was like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah. Cobb
was
a
very
little hangry.
Yeah, it was
He's like, I don't want to drink it. It stinks.
Yeah, that was very justified for
Yeah.
me. He was like, it stinks. And he was like,
I don't care if we kill this Krayt Dragon if I have to drink this peyote.
yeah, exactly. It was very funny because they were like, do you want their help or not? And it was such a in the moment thing that all of us would say. He's like, I don't want their help, I have to drink this. And dude, when the Tuskens were like getting a little pissed off that they're dishonoring, and then he says, they already said you dishonor them by stealing their water and now you reject their hospitality. I was like, oh, freaking drink it, bro. What are you retarded? Just do it. And so that was very cool. The one thing that I was kind of like about the Tuskens is that I did not that I didn't like it, but I wish that their voices would have been less high. I know I have a high voice, but like whenever around the fireside and it was like, I was like, I wanted it to be more menacing.
It was menacing when that guy got in his face about dropping the bomb.
Dude, that was what I was going to say. Dude, the freaking you made me jump.
That's how scary it is.
The coolest soundtrack. First of all, hats off to freaking Ludwig. I can't remember his last name, but
Beethoven.
Yeah, that bro, he murders it every episode with The Mandalorian. He kills it, and he brought in some Arabic kind of it was very freaking sick when the Sand People ride into town. Once they convinced the townspeople to let him help. And then they're working hand in hand with the Sand People, something you never thought you would see. And they said, if you help us kill the Krayt Dragon and we get to have the meat and such afterward, then we will never touch this town again until you break the peace. I like that there was a little threat implied there where it was like, but once you do, you best believe we're coming. And hell's coming with me.
And we've been getting yoked on some Krayt Dragon jerky for generations here, so we're gonna be beefed.
You can tell they're
for it.
strong as freak.
Yeah, dude.
I imagine it's kind of like when a human fights a monkey. Like the human has the higher intelligence and we have tools and things. But if you ever see a monkey that has like a disorder where they don't have fur, you ever seen those? You ever seen a picture of that?
I have seen a chimpanzee where their chest is naked.
Dude, I'll send you all a picture after this. But for you viewers and listeners at home, Google chimpanzee with no fur. And you will not be disappointed. It looks like a frickin'... Dude, it looks like a UFC fighter. If a UFC fighter was allowed to be on steroids.
Dude. Yeah.
I imagine that's how Tuskens are. Like they're just, you know what I mean? Like they're doing everything by themselves. They're doing everything by hand. So there's not like a need for them to have tools and crap.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Yeah, look at that dude, bro. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's
they're
like
strong, dude.
Yoel Romero from the UFC if he took steroids.
The chimpanzee I named my dog after, Koba, the villain from Planet of the Apes. He's his first kind of thing. You can see how muscular he is.
Oh, dude, for real. So whenever they ride into town and they're working hand in hand, like you said, they drop the explosive, and that, of course, it's scary. And the guy's like, "What are you trying to do? Blow up the whole town?" Dude, that Tusken's voice was off the chain. You got to realize it was 2:45 in the morning when we were watching this, and we were all three like, "Oh, it was really good," but we were all exhausted. And I had slept for 3 hours and woken up, so I was like, if I fall asleep, I'm not getting back up. I was trying to stay awake. And when he was like, you trying to blow up the whole town? What's wrong with you? And that Tuscan was like, like, dude, that guy freaking, he was like, say it with your chest. He freaking stepped up to that guy, and I was like, oh, he's gonna kill him. I thought he was gonna kill that dude on the spot. But that was freaking sick. And
Well, it was cool to see Cobb Vanth kind of coming around because Mando had to
It
step
was
in
an
between
accident.
Cobb Vanth and the same people
Tuskens,
you
yeah.
know, earlier on, and now Cobb Vanth is keeping the peace between the Tuskens and the townsfolk.
right. So, man, he was like, it was an accident. It was a fucking accident. So they get out there, and man, did you guys feel like from the get-go whenever they were putting those bombs in the dirt, I was like, this ain't gonna work? Did you feel that way?
I saw the strapped
You saw what?
I saw the strapped bantha, and I thought for sure that was plan A.
Yeah, so did
That's
I.
what
I said, I was like, are they going to send this jihad bantha in there and just blow it up from the inside?
Oh my god. I thought that they were gonna, what if they
It would have been an honorable death.
I thought that they were gonna get like a green laser and be like, ooh, what's that? And the bantha just chases it into the hole. Like a freaking cat, just like, "Meh." And the bantha just runs in there, the crate eats it. Bada bing. They should have lasers. They have pistols, but not lasers.
You know, I was making fun of that one Tusken that went in there with the gaffy stick.
Yeah.
When there's 3 of them there towards the end. But it turns out he had the right plan because the other 2 were trying to run off with full-on blaster rifles, and he outstripped them by a mile. He was gone, bro.
No weight coming in.
He's freaking gone. He's like, I'm going to have this, and it's all going to be for show because we're going to hightail it out of here.
Dude, when those Tuskens ride into town, that is bad to the bone.
It's freaking sick.
And they're doubled up.
Was anybody under the impression that those harpoon guns were going to do anything at all
Well, it's hard
to restrain the crate dragon? Because I saw him go in there, and then I saw like 3 Tuskens each on that rope, and I was like, that's not doing freaking anything, bro.
Yeah, the part where the crate starts to pull back against the ropes, and there's like 3 Tuskens hanging on, and I was like, let go! And they were like, for our honor, and they're just holding on, and I was like, y'all are screwed. I really wish I could have seen,
It
I'm sure...
reminded me of when I was learning to ski for the first time, water ski, and I
Something
fell
about your pride
forward,
just holds onto that
and
line.
nobody told me to let go of the rope. I thought they had to stop, and so I was just like I'm just getting dragged under the water.
You can tell that these
At
people are
30 miles an hour.
rebels at heart by how many grenades they throw
Oh,
at
yeah.
this crate. Nam Carver is in this crowd for the Battlefront 2 fans from 2005.
Yeah, they were throwing every thermal detonator in the galaxy at that crate dragon.
I do like... You know what I don't get? I don't get why Din Djarin has a scope that he uses and he has a heads-up display. Why don't I choose the one? I guess he needs to have the antenna on the helmet, but he doesn't.
Maybe.
I really want to see eventually, I'm sure we'll get some kind of a book or something that'll show us what a crate dragon looks like. It clearly doesn't look like what we've seen it look like before. I mean, it kind of does. It's got to have claws somewhere. It's not like a worm, right? Is it like a snake?
It's a dragon.
Right. But
I
it's
think
kind of like,
it
you
seems
know,
like
when
it's streamlined.
you know how when you hear about Smog,
Yeah.
they call him the Great Worm?
Yeah.
Like, they make him seem like much longer. I guess
Let's talk about that acid.
Dude,
he
that
spits
acid
out.
that he
I
spits
wasn't-
out,
I
is
wasn't
that just
ready
like
for that.
cooking folks?
Yeah.
Are they just disintegrating?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Jeez.
I didn't know they did that.
Well, they didn't until last night.
Let's talk about how he just took a bite out of the side of that mountain casually.
When Din and Cobb were up
Yeah,
there.
he's like, I don't like this anymore.
Dude,
I
so
don't want to
cool.
play with you anymore.
Well, bye, Woody. Dude, that's so funny. Yeah, whenever Din is like, all right, let's figure something out. And they're up there on the mountainside and they're like, pew, pew, pew. And Cobb goes, this ain't doing nothing. That was so funny, dude. Oh, my gosh.
Relatable though.
Dude, my mind was blown with how fast this freaking thing was moving underground, dude.
It was speedy.
It was like, because when he moves above the earth, it's like,
Yeah. It's kind of like a leopard seal. You know what I mean? Like on land,
Yeah, that's
they're,
true.
They're free. They're like they're not doing anything. But you know, you see them in the water. Little mermaids down there. Man.
oh my god, dude. When this acid hits these people, they're just like disintegrating, bro.
So let's talk about how you felt about that joke where Din Djarin hits Cobb Vanth's jetpack and sends him off to Kingdom Come.
Did not care for it, to be completely honest with you. Didn't like the joke. As a Boba Fett fan, it was funny, but I was not respectful. But yeah, I guess I
and
liked
in
it.
proximity of a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, I liked it partially because I was like, see, not his fault. But yeah, I get it. The whole argument Boba Fett got beat by a blind guy is I don't agree with that because one, Boba was probably drunk off of his you-know-what, spending the night at Jabba's palace thinking that all of his worries were in the wind. Secondly, I really think that, yeah, getting hit with that thing and then hitting face first into it was a lucky thing. It was a lucky. Could Chris Weidman actually beat Anderson Silva if Anderson Silva didn't get cocky and didn't break his leg the second time? Absolutely freaking not. Chris Weidman's trash. It was lucky. 2 lucky times, though, so maybe double luck. I don't know. But to see the Tuskens just like freaking afraid for their life, that was really crazy because they're not really... You only see them like that from the crates, even in episode 4.
Right.
Well, I mean, the whole Vader thing is kind of a big deal. But, man, watching the crate... When he does come above ground and he's got the horns on the back of his head, that was real cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Man, imagine being... Dude, all that sand in your mouth. That would be
I was
disgusting.
thinking about that. But I mean, like, that's your livelihood, I guess, if you're a crate dragon. You just live in the sand.
Right. Dude, you know what I was thinking about was the amount of times that he shoots that rocket off from his jetpack.
Yeah.
In the book Bloodlines by Karen Travis from the Legacy of the Force series, Boba Fett lends some armor to Han Solo, and they're working together, and Han Solo uses one of those to blow up a door, and Boba Fett goes, you know how much those cost? So the whole time that he was just like, pew, 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 just shooting those jetpack missiles off, I was
I mean,
like...
he only does it twice.
Getting expensive, bro. Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about it.
Also, that was like a couple of years apart.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was 10 minutes apart in my mind. So I was like, stop being so wasteful. But, dude, Din Djarin does something really dope. He hangs onto that bantha. And it's cool because he was prepared to die because you hear him tell Cobb Vanth to take care of the child. Mm-hmm. And that's when he hits the jetpack
Well,
with
it's cool
his
that
blaster.
he uses that lightning prod function on the blaster. You don't really see that. I think since episode 2 was the last time he used it. Because he used it in episode 1 against that ice creature. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
Episode 2, I think he used it when he was trying to get his parts back from the Jawas.
Yeah, you see him just shoot, but I don't think you see him like really, murk anything like he does.
Yeah, so like that's how he gets the mouth of the crate dragon back open. He does the lightning prod in the mouth.
Dude, I guess it makes sense because it's sand. Man, that crate is just barreling through things. But yeah, he gets out of there because of the lightning, and then he blows that thing up from the
Straight
inside
to
out.
smithereens. Yosemite Sam's the crap out of that crate dragon, bro.
Dude, and you see the shockwave go out. Yeah. Dude, how cool would it have been if he did that and it went, boom.
Why don't
That would have been
Let's
sick.
talk about why they had so many bombs in reserve if their plan was to just blow that thing to Kingdom Come from under the sand. You know what I mean?
I guess.
I feel like there were more bombs on that bantha than there were under the sand.
I guess it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting because
It was clear to us that they didn't really have a plan B.
Din Djarin was like, we only get one shot at
Right.
this.
But
But
maybe
maybe-
like a whole bombs.
Maybe
worth
the
of-
one shot at
shot?
this is less about we get one shot because we have only one set of bombs, and more of once this thing blows up, it's probably going to retreat, and that's why he needed to really keep riling it up.
Right, but if that were the case, why would you keep so many bombs if you thought, you know what I mean? Like you've only got the one opportunity.
Yeah. Very true. Then you see him ransacking the inside of this freaking this crate. Oh man, that is a lot of meat.
So
It
what's the
looks
significance
disgusting.
of the crate dragon pearl?
Okay, yeah. So at the very, very end, you see one Tusken open up, an inside of his, the inside of this crate, and he holds up this pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And at first we were like, Suka. But it's not an egg, it's a pearl. It's not necessarily significant in the sense that, like, it's from a specific story or anything like that. But it's very much, it's just like, it's lore. So it's to see a crate dragon is rare. To kill a crate dragon is even more rare. And within every crate dragon, or it's kind of like dragons are attracted to treasure, and so they're in the Star Wars lore. They somehow it kind of makes sense because they ingest so much sand that within its innards. Within the innards of a krayt dragon, some of that gets compacted and forms a pearl or pearls, and so to the Tuskens, it's a big like sacred thing because that's their number one enemy, right? So before people settled Tatooine, it was really the Tuskens. They don't really care about the Jawas. They even trade with them and stuff like that. So for them, it's really them versus the environment, and the only really adversity that they face would be against the Krayts if they've been there for so many thousands of years. And so to defeat a krayt dragon and then to find the pearl within, it was like it was just a big moment, very spiritual for them. And so they're holding it up, and you have the classic with the freaking Gadurfi sticks. I do like how Cobb Vanth he's got his shirt that he's wearing under the armor, and I do like how I don't know if y'all noticed this, but it's designed like a double-breasted thing, kind of like old underalls.
Yeah, or like a chef's tunic.
Yeah, but like when you would see like, in the old like Fox and the Hound, whenever the bad guy comes out of the house and he's got his long johns on, they have kind of that double-breasted like. So that was cool. It was a cool like here's a space version of this Western idea, and he also has a bandana. So I thought that was really cool that he has a bandana over the armor, and he says I hope our paths cross again. And Din Djarin says likewise. They shake hands, and Cobb Vanth points at the jetpack and he goes, "Now tell your folks, I wasn't the one that broke that." So I thought that was pretty funny, and
I'll give a nod to you. You were right. It was Boba Fett's jetpack on the back of that speeder bike.
Yep, it was blurry, but I saw people. I was like, man, that looks kind of like Boba's armor, and then I saw people who had taken it through like Photoshop and different filters and really like change the lighting and the structure of a picture to really make things pop. And when they did that, and they're like, see, here's the helmet, here's this, I was, this maybe could be. But once I saw that, I really was convinced. And I know that it was a long shot, but that's what it was. And so I like that he had a chunk of meat for himself. I thought that was cool. And then jerky. He's covering that up, and then here's the freaking pearl. And they're like freaking psyched about it, bro. What if they just got so excited that they just started shooting everybody? He just started killing all those folks.
One thing that I did notice when I looked those up is most of those pearls. If you look at the pictures of the Tuskens holding the pearls, they can hold it in one hand.
Yeah.
And this one right here is massive, so they're having to. That just goes to show how big that thing is.
Yeah. The krayt dragon. It's not that the ones that we see. I know I made a joke earlier, but I think the one that you see in Episode 4 is probably a large krayt dragon. I think this one was like,
Big Daddy.
The Moby Dick of krayt dragons. Moby Dick is the name of the whale, right?
Yes.
Because Ahab is the name of the fisherman. So yeah, this guy's like the legend. This is the whale in Pinocchio that eats frickin' the whole boat.
Yeah.
That whale was terrifying, by the way. So you got Din Djarin, and it's kind of interesting because one thing that I'm not concerned about, but curious about is he's now got this armor. Where does he go from here? Because this guy was going to tell him if Cobb Vanth ended up being a real Mandalorian, the goal was you send me underground to the closest covert of Mandalorians, and through their networks, they'll know where a Jedi is, or they'll know something about the Jedi, because throughout history, Mandalorians and Jedi kind of are interwoven. So I think that Din knows less about Mandalorian history than maybe other people who have had a very rich clan history.
Well, and I mean, even if it were Boba Fett and he did find him, Boba Fett's not really in that network, as far as we know. You know what I mean?
Right. I would like to address the fact that people think that Boba Fett's not a real Mandalorian. And my one beef is not that I'm not saying he's in it like Paz Vizsla, the big Mando from episode 3 of last season. That guy was like a lifer, and like he knew all the creed, and he was pissed off that this guy, you got that from Imperials, and he wanted to kill him. That guy's in the clan. That guy's in the group. He's in the know. I'm not saying that's Boba Fett. But when your argument against Boba or Jango Fett being Mandalorians is that Prime Minister Almec from Clone Wars said that Jango Fett wasn't a Mandalorian, that is a stupid argument, because everything that guy says is a freaking lie. And if your concern is they took off their helmets, what Mandalorian from the Clone Wars didn't take off their helmets? Like, that thing could have very well been something that they did after the Imperial Purge to hide their whatever. So when people online are like, well, Prime Minister Almec said Jango Fett wasn't a Mandalorian, that I don't understand that argument, because the whole time he's talking to Obi-Wan, his goal is lie, deceive, get this guy looking away from Mandalore. Yeah, this guy has the armor, but he's not a real Mandalorian, because real Mandalorians don't do that kind of stuff. Jango Fett's just a thug, yada, yada, yada. So to me, I understand that Jango Fett, Boba Fett's a clone of Jango and whatnot, but if that's your main argument against Boba and Jango being Mandalorians, the guy is lying for the whole episode and is proven to lie the entire episode. So I don't understand why that's your argument. If your argument is we've never seen him interact with Mandalorians, we've never seen him really hold true to the Mandalorian creed or whatever, we've never seen examples of that, then that's fine. But does that make sense?
Yep. And yeah, my main thing is that you just don't see him. He's not a Mandalorian kind of guy. You know what I mean? He wears the armor. His dad was Mandalorian, by some sort of tradition, right?
Right.
He had some sort of affiliation with Mandalore because, what's his name? Almec knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of see him doing his own thing. He's not really connected.
Right. But the thing is, at that time in history, there weren't really Mandalorians doing the thing that we see as the Creed. The Creed is the Creed is not new in the grand scheme of things, but it is new in the timeline that we're watching, because nobody was following the Creed, even pre-Vizsla and the Death Watch. They were all taking their helmets off. They were all doing all this other stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's something that I remember from the Legacy of the Force series. I understand this is Legends, but it's just something Boba Fett said that always stuck with me, that I was like, see, he gets it. There's a character that's trying on Mandalorian armor, and they're like, oh man, this is kind of uncomfortable at first. And Boba Fett says, try shaving in it. So, like, his commitment to keeping the helmet on is, he's shaving with that helmet on in his own bathroom with the door shut by himself in Slave One. That's just like his style. And I know that, like I said, I know that's Legends, but that's just always stuck with me. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how Boba Fett might catch up with Din Djarin.
Yeah. So Din Djarin and the child are leaving. They have Boba Fett's armor in tow. They don't know whose armor it is. And he's riding across the desert of the Dune Sea. Obviously, probably back to the Razor Crest. And you see a beautiful twin sun sunset. And then on the horizon, you see the silhouette of a front-lit character. It's backlit, but he's facing the other way. And as you get closer, a certain someone turns around.
Yeah.
And y'all know who it is. It's that boy. It's Boba Fett, bro. It's Boba Fett back from the dead.
What's cool is that he has like a whole complement of Tusken weapons.
Yeah.
He's got a Tusken blaster. He's got a Tusken gaffy stick.
Yeah. Dude, it's so freaking sick. And I was driving home last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, dude, this is such a moment of like vindication for me personally, of just wanting Boba to be back for so long. And I feel like I have a strange connection to Boba, because it's outside of Star Wars as well, because I remember when we were younger, Dad was traveling a lot for work, and he would bring back little toys or whatever for us when he was on his trips, and he'd be gone for like 2 weeks at a time sometimes. And he came back one time, and he had this is when we were still living in Kingwood, so this was like we were real young, and he brought back 3 shirts, and he gave Sean a Darth Vader shirt, and I was like, oh my god, freaking Darth Vader, we know who that is, right? And he gave you a Luke Skywalker shirt, and then he gave me Boba Fett, and I was like, who the freak is this? And I remember being like, he looks cool, which has always been Boba Fett's thing. He looks cool. And so I'm looking at it, and I realized that he's an important character. Well, then they re-released the original trilogy before Episode 1 came out. And so I'm watching those in theaters with you and Dad, and it was a special edition. So Boba Fett shows up in A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. He's the guy that can catch anybody. He's the only one that mounts off to Darth Vader. Just a bad to the bone character. And I was so excited. Then when I really started to become a huge fan of Star Wars, Episode 2 came out, and that's when you see Daniel Logan as Boba Fett, but you see Jango. And I remember that was the first Star Wars toy that I was looking for as a kid, was that Jango Fett, where his hands were like this, and there's a little thing you could push the little thing, and a rocket would shoot out of his jetpack. And so in 6th grade, when I really started to try to read like on my own, I'm just reading because I'm told to, like I'm enjoying reading. I read a book called The Mandalorian Armor, which is the first book of the Bounty Hunter Wars by a guy named K.W. Jeter. And the series is not fantastic. It's like there's a lot of stuff compared to like Tim Zahn and like, you know, stuff that we read now. This doesn't hold up as far as, you know, it's not Lost Stars by Claudia Gray or anything like that. But this is my first Star Wars book I ever read, and it's the story about how there's this war going on, and he basically gives you the backstory of how Boba Fett gets out of the Sarlacc. And so he's always been my favorite, and maybe it's because me and my dad over the years have had like a really good relationship and then a really strained relationship, and then now we're back in a place where our relationship's really good. So to me, Boba Fett goes beyond, he's just a Star Wars character. Like I don't know if that's weird, but that's a connection me and my dad have. And so when people talk about how overrated Boba Fett is, or when they're like, you know, talking crap about Boba, I think one of the reasons that I take it personally is because I'm like, my dad bought me that shirt when I was 5, you shut up. And so it became personal. And so for him to be out, I was like, yeah, this is the man. Like, this is, I don't know, he was just so cool because that's my favorite character. That's my childhood hero, is Boba Fett. And there's comics called Enemy of the Empire, Boba Fett, and he's fighting Darth Vader. And as a kid, I was reading them, and I was like, he's going to win, even though obviously they both have to survive because they're in Empire Strikes Back. And so when Disney bought Star Wars and Boba was back in the Sarlacc, I was like, I don't know. I was kind of depressed. I was kind of like, dude, what the frick? Like, I don't know. It was kind of a strange thing. I know it's weird, but to see, like, hear rumors, and maybe this will happen, but anybody can edit IMDb. It's like Wikipedia. Like, anybody can go in there and be like, yeah, Tamir Morrison's going to play Boba Fett. Like, it's not confirmed, right? And then what if someone goes in and hacks Tamir Morrison's agent's page? And I was so paranoid that he wasn't really going to show up. And so to see him, you know, it was a childhood dream come true. I never got to see old school Boba Fett on screen for the first time. Like, by the time I was born, Empire and all those things, even A New Hope when it was re-released, like, I wasn't looking for that when it came out. I just happened to see it. This is the first time that on, you know, not that it was the big screen, but it's the biggest screen we can watch right now. Nothing's being really new released in theaters at this time, for the most part. And so, just a very, very fulfilling moment for me, and just being on Tatooine of all places, and he's out, and he clearly wants his armor back, and for the man himself, Tamir Morrison, to be the guy, it was kind of an emotional moment for me. I was riding home, and I was like, am I tearing up? What's going on right now? Is it 3 a.m.? Maybe that's it, you know? I don't know. But it was a cool moment. It was very, very cool. And so I didn't have that same, I was excited for Thrawn when he was brought back, and obviously Jackson was cool because it's just like silly. But Thrawn, I was very excited. But I have this weird, I guess, emotional attachment to Boba Fett because of that's like one of the cool things that me and my dad have a connection with. And so to see him brought back, I just really hope they do him justice. And so for everybody out there that I just like jump on whenever they talk about how overrated Boba Fett is, it's not because I hate you, it's because it's just a different level of commitment to the character for me. So anyways, I loved the episode, and I can't wait. I can't believe that we have to wait a freaking another week. And knowing Star Wars, he's going to like leave Tatooine and go fight Moff Gideon for a week and then have to come back later, and we're not going to see Boba till episode 5 or some crazy crap like that.
Maybe not till season 3.
But this will have to hold me over. It's like eggnog. You get it every once in a while. It's really good, and you just got to cherish it while it's here. But I really loved it. It was satisfying as a viewer, and it was satisfying personally for me. So I know I went on a little rant there, but
For a while, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, that's just how I felt. Just how I felt.
Yep. So,
If you ever have to have a moment like that, it's fine.
I don't. It's okay.
cool.
All right. Well, that's a long episode, so we're just gonna. We'll call it. Any last thoughts? Short ones.
No.
Okay.
Short ones.
Hey, you still couldn't tell us your favorite Star Wars movie last week, so there's emotional attachments there for you too. So
And I didn't take 12 minutes to say them.
it's okay.
All right. Well,
There you go.
the Force will be with you always, and remember, the only family that you have here, it's me. Space Base.
See you guys next
All
week.
right, take it easy, y'all.